right, welcome back everybody. Today we are discussing Solana. A lot of recent news, a lot of bullish news coming out about Solana in the last few weeks and months. We're going to cover that, and then we're going to dive into some chart analysis and price predictions as well. So let's dive right into the action. First of all, I know that we kind of glossed over this in my last video. Really important we touch on this again. It's a huge milestone for Solana NFT sales, crossing 1 billion in volume, and that's in sales volume. And that's by January 20th of this year. So probably closer to, 1.5 now. And it's kind of just accelerated. And why this is so important is that it means additional volume on the blockchain, resulting in a higher cost per SOL token. Now, leading to that, we recently saw a heavy run up just in the last few days of March. And a lot of that was on the back of this news. So OpenSea is going to confirm that it will start listing Solana NFTs in April. Why this is such big news is because this is going to bring a ton of volume to Solana. One of the biggest concerns about trading Solana NFTs right now is that there isn't really a solid venture-backed marketplace like OpenSea. There's a lot of security concerns. There's a lot of rugs, a lot of concerns around just outright losing your Solana on mints. So now bringing the kind of OpenSea legitimacy to Solana NFTs could mean a crazy amount of volume coming in, and that's why we saw that pump into after this news came out. So really exciting there. The other thing I want to touch on is just how active Solana developers have become. And notably, this big kind of shift occurred last year, right about here, if you can see. Well, I guess we can say more so back in late 2020. Solana started really separating itself from the pack. So it started, with kind of the same volume of activity as a lot of these other, notable layer ones, AVAX, FTM, and Luna. But then it just started breaking off in activity. And, it actually passed Ethereum and has been solidly above Ethereum for quite some time now in terms of dev activity contributors. So that's really big. There's always a saying in crypto that you follow the devs because that's where the building is. That's where the dApps are going to be. And, theory would be that additional users come, additional volume comes once those developers execute. And I think this is a really cool thing to note that Solana contributors are more than double Ethereum, but the market cap, and now, this has definitely changed because this post is from November, but the market cap is just a fraction of what Ethereum's market cap is. So it's just something to really keep an eye on because, this would lend you to believe that Solana may be undervalued in comparison to Ethereum. Going back on this development activity narrative, we also, alongside the increased developer activity, we actually have more programs being used. And this has grown exponentially since last year. So this is January 2021. Here's January 2022. And, we have just exponentially near zero to over 600 Solana programs used, which is just absolutely incredible. You can see it just really starts to take off middle of last year, and then we get another kind of increase here, and it's been steady since then. So really cool to see not only developer activity growing, but also the amount of apps, the amount of programs being used on Solana is also increasing. So what that tells me is that what the developers are building and what Solana is offering is also attracting new users to additional programs on the blockchain, which is great news. Now to move into just how big the Solana ecosystem has gotten. It's outpaced a lot of other ecosystems. It's stayed up there with Cardano, AVAX. It's outpaced AVAX in its growth. A lot of incredible projects being built, and it just keeps growing. Over and over every year, this just keeps getting bigger. The graph keeps getting bigger. And more projects are coming into the fold. So just really cool to see how much the Solana ecosystem is growing, and just very bullish overall for the blockchain. Now moving into just a little bit of chart analysis. So we're going to cover what recently happened to Solana. We'll get into a little chart analysis and price predictions, and maybe we'll see where we'll be headed here in the next few months and through the rest of the year. So let's hop into it right here. First of all, we had kind of this, ever since November, similar to a lot of the other coins, had this 70% pullback. We've seen that in a lot of other coins, 70 to even 100% pullbacks, totally normal. And now we've had kind of this rebound just in the last few weeks. And right, if you remember that we just discussed it, right here is where that OpenSea NFT news occurred, and it actually pushed us above that falling wedge. We broke out of the falling wedge that began forming back in November of 21. So we can see after that OpenSea news gets launched, we have 4 straight green daily candles, and that just takes us right over the trend line. We break out of the falling wedge, and now we're kind of searching for that next support resistance channel. So really exciting there. Now that we've kind of established that we've broken out of the falling wedge, just a couple other things to note. During this consolidation period of about, 67 days-ish, we played between this kind of $142 and $70-ish mark. And now you can see that we're trying to break out of this neckline once again. And so this is kind of going to be a big resistance point for Solana, big upcoming days and months coming in terms of price action. But we will get back to that here in a moment. A couple other things I want to point out about the chart. We talk about moving averages a lot on this channel. One of the coolest things I've seen about Solana is that this is the first time ever that we've been below both the 100-day and 200-day moving averages, and we've been below them for 3 months about. So we can see Solana, not only when we broke out of that falling wedge, we basically broke above the 100-day at the same time we broke above the falling wedge, giving us additional momentum there. We can see what happened last time we broke above the 100-day back here. We saw this incredible run of almost, more than 5x, 5.3x. So really, really interesting time here again for Solana. So moving averages are looking really, really bullish in terms of our ability to return back above them. Love that we were able to consolidate in this kind of tight channel, staying below those as well. A couple things to note about the short term. We talked about this with Cardano as well. This is a short-term RSI. So speaking about what we might do here just in the next few days and weeks, I do think that after, this high of a run of, 70% since our low, 80%, and you can see we're way, way overbought right now. We're at 75 when, overbought is a 70-ish mark. So I think in the short term, it's not unlikely that we would bounce back to test this trend line, then go again. So the RSI is kind of telling me that we're a little bit overbought. We may in the short term come back, correct a little bit. Excuse me. You can see that happened right here as well. You can see we're overbought. We were overbought here as well, and we did correct just a little bit, but then we went, right? And that could come here. That could happen again here. So I'm not saying, completely fade Solana because it's short-term overbought, but I'm just saying, hey, watch out in the short term. Typically when we're this overbought, we have at least a short-term pullback in price action before we, confirm another support level, and then we go, kind of similar to what we saw right there. So that's kind of what I wanted to point out in terms of chart analysis. Let's hop into a couple of key price levels. So let's pull out a fib retracement here. And now immediately you can see what some of these key levels are. So we talked about this neckline, right? And it turns out this neckline is, essentially the 0.382 fib, which is about $146. So right now that is the fib that we're testing. I personally believe, and obviously not financial advice, but having seen a lot of these charts and the way they break out, after having consolidated for so long, I could see us coming up to this fib, testing that 146, coming back to this fib to lock in and confirm a new support, and then we head back above this fib, stand, and go for the next one. I've just seen it so many times in charts. It's really, really hard for a chart to have enough volume and enough momentum to go right through without a retest. But obviously it's always possible. It's happened in the past with Solana. I mean, we had basically just this slight retest, right? I mean, it's barely anything, and then we rip. So that could happen too. It really just all depends. So in terms of short term, we are looking to stand on top of 146. That's the key level right now. And then as you can see, as we climb up As we retrace to where we were trying to come to before, 189 is going to be another key level after that 167. So we have a couple of key fibs to tackle here in the short term. Like I said, first 146, then we have to hit 162. You can see that this was a previous support that we could not hold. So that's going to be a tough one to cross as well. And then 189 we didn't hold previously either. So it is going to be, a tough run back, but Solana is a beast and it's proven us well in the past as well. So moving up to where we might go in the future. So in terms of short term, 146, 167, those are kind of the key levels you need to watch. If we blast through those, we need to be looking out for that 260 all-time high. But in terms of being past the all-time high, I think, 260, 270 frame, around this area, I think this is reclaimable by the end of 2022. The question is, do we get ahead of that all-time high within this year, or is it going to take longer? It really depends on a lot of macro news. Obviously, we have Ukraine and inflation. That's not getting any better, only worse. So it really depends what's going to happen there. But all things set aside, if things do stay bullish and market sentiment stays rather level, I think we can reclaim that 260. Now, the real question becomes, after we claim 260, what's going to be the next big target? So let's say, if we were able to directly map this map this fractal, let's say that this is our bottom here. We map it to up here, and then let's paste this right over this. So if we were able to play out, a similar fractal, and obviously, we've kind of had more of a exponential growth pace than our last fractal, at least early on, as you can see there. But if we were able to lay that over almost exactly, we'd be seeing a 309 Solana in late June. I do think that's possible. I think it's macro news needs to go well, but that 309 level definitely seems reasonable. It seems reasonable to be playing between these by the end of the year. And then after that, I think our next long-term goal is this 2618 fib up here. So I think that we're eventually our longer-term target is going to be $560 here at this 2618 fib. But obviously, with the way that the fractal has played out previously, we need to reclaim that 260 all-time high and potentially go for that 304 to reclaim the similar fractal target. So that's kind of what I'm seeing for price action. I think long-term, we're looking for $560-ish. And then short-term, like I said, just to recap, we need that 146 level. It's a huge neckline breakout. I think we're going to struggle with this one. Not that we aren't going to struggle with other fibs, right? But this one is kind of the one to set the tone to take us out of, this kind of downtrend. Personally, like I said, I think we get rejected here and then come back, test the fib, then go. But obviously, anything can happen. Well, thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys got some value. If you did, would really appreciate it if you dropped a like. And let me know what other projects you want me to cover. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.